अन्तुर्यदि स्यात् अधिगम्यम् अथवा पिबेति राशौ न विदां प्रवाद। ब्राह्मण उवाच त्वयोदितं व्यक्तम् अविप्रलब्धम् परतु समे स्याद् यदि वीरभार। गन्तुर्यदि स्याद् अधिगम्यमथवा पिबेति राशौ न विदां प्रवाद। ब्राह्मण उवाच त्वयोदितं व्यक्तम् अविप्रलब्धम् भरतु समे स्यात् यदि वीरभार। गन्तुर्यदि स्याद् अधिगम्यमथवा पिबेति राशौ न विदां प्रवाद। Please chant. त्वयोदितं व्यक्तम् अविप्रलब्धम् परतु समे स्याद् यदि वीरभार। गन्तुर्यदि स्याद् अधिगम्यमथवा पिबेति राशौ न विदां प्रवाद। ब्राह्मण उवाच त्वयोदितं व्यक्तम् अविप्रलब्धम् परतु समे स्याद् यदि वीरभार। गन्तुर्यदि स्याद् अधिगम्यमथवा पिबेति राशौ न विदां प्रवाद। माताजी। ब्राह्मण उवाच त्वयोदितं व्यक्तम् अविप्रलब्धम् ब्राह्मणोवाच त्वयोदितं व्यक्तमविप्रलब्धम् अर्तु समे स्याद् यदि वीरभार। यदि स्यादधिगम्यमथवा पिबेति राशौ न विदां। Brahmana Uvacha. The learned Brahmana Jad Bharat spoke. Tvaya, by you, Uditam, explained, Vyaktam, very clearly, Avipralabdham, without contradictions, Bhartu, of the bearer, the body, saha, that, may, mine, syat, it would have been, yadi, if, Veera, O great hero, Maharaj Rahugana, Bhara, a load, Gantu, of the mover, also the body, Yadi, if, Syat, it had been, Adigamyam, the object to be obtained, Adava, the path, Piva, very stout and strong, Iti, thus, Rashau, in the body, Na, not, Vidam, of the self-realized persons, Pravadaha, subject matter for discussion. Translation. The great Brahmana Jad Bharat said, "My dear king and hero, whatever you have spoken sarcastically is certainly true. Actually, these are not simply words of chastisement, for the body is the carrier. The load carried by the body does not belong to me, for I am the spirit soul. There is no contradiction in your statements, because I am different from the body. I am not the carrier of the palanquin. The body is the carrier. Certainly, as you have hinted, I have not labored carrying the palanquin, for I am detached from the body. You have said that I am not stout and strong, and these words are befitting a person who does not know the distinction between the body and the soul. The body may be fat or thin, but no learned man would say such things of the spirit soul. As far as the spirit soul is concerned, I am neither fat nor skinny. Therefore, you are correct when you say that I am not very stout. Also, if the object of this journey and the path leading there were mine, there would be many troubles for me. But because they relate not to me but to my body, there is no trouble at all. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that one who is advanced in spiritual knowledge is not disturbed by the pains and pleasures of the material body. The material body is completely separate from the spirit soul, and the pains and pleasures of the body are superfluous. The practice of austerity and penance is meant for understanding the distinction between the body and the soul, and how the soul can be unaffected by the pleasures and pains of the body. Jad Bharat was actually situated on the platform of self-realization. He was completely aloof from the bodily conception. Therefore, he immediately took this position and convinced the king that whatever contradictory things the king had said about his body did not actually apply to him as a spirit soul. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Unamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Brahmana Uvacha Tvayoditam Vyaktam Avipralabdham Bhartu Same Syad Yadi Virabhara Gantur Yadi Syad Adigamya Madhava Piveti Rasho Navidam Pravada. There are two significant points to be learned from this particular verse. One is that Brahmana Uvacha, the word for word says the learned Brahmana, Jad Bharat, spoke. Jad means dull, means stupid, not very able to understand. Brahmana means very intelligent. So, Shukadev Goswami is telling us, this is not a dull person speaking. Brahmana Uvacha. Now, earlier on, we learned that his father tried to teach him Brahminical practices, and actually he failed to do them. The father was unsuccessful. So it appears that how would a person who is unsuccessful in the practices of Brahminical life, how can he be called a Brahmana? Normally, if you're familiar with Vedic terms, the word is used Dvija Bandhu. A person who is not a qualified Brahmana is called a Dvija Bandhu. But Bharat, he is called Brahmana, even though he did not practice the Brahminical practices. So the first lesson is that he was fulfilling the purpose of all those Brahminical practices. And we also have to remind ourselves, being dull and slow and incapable is not a qualification for being a Brahmana. That is not the asset. Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Ki Jai. But Bharat Maharaj, he had fulfilled all the purposes of all the Brahminical practices. He had attained Shama Dama Tapa Saucham Kshanti Rarjavam Evacha Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Svabhavajam. So he's actually a fully qualified Brahmana. So even though the word is used again and again, Jad Bharat, we should understand actually he is Brahmana Bharat. But he is acting as if he was not enlightened, uncultured, uncivilized. So the second point of this verse is relevant to a devotee who is a preacher. if your service involves preaching, then this verse is very instructive. It has a lot of points for a preacher. So, Bharat Maharaj, there are two components to a preacher. Sanatana Goswami said that to Haridas Thakur. He said some people, they practice Krishna consciousness very nicely, but they're unable to benefit others around them. And there are others who are very expert at explaining Krishna consciousness to others, but their own practice is not very good. He said, but you are perfect in both. So Bharat Maharaj is exemplifying this here. And we have to remember, why is he acting like slow and dull? Why is he? Because he made a mistake last time. He made a mistake. He doesn't want to repeat the same mistake. He's very cautious. He's very careful about everything. He's not willing to take chances. He's not willing to drop his guard for the sake of conformity or social acceptance. He's very, very serious. Okay. So what he is doing is he's preserving his Krishna consciousness no matter what. Under no distraction is he going to give it up this time. He did it the last time. The last time he was Krishna conscious, but he thought, oh, here's a deer, helpless deer, a doe, a calf deer. Distraction. So this time he is absolutely serious. No fooling around, no sentimental notions. Very serious. And he's preserving his consciousness. And to all external appearances, he is looking foolish and dull. So, whilst maintaining his Krishna consciousness, he is now preaching. So this is, I mentioned, the second point of this verse is instructive lesson for a preacher. On the one hand, if you give up your own Krishna consciousness in order to preach, you're defeating the purpose. You have to, from this lesson in particular, you have to preserve your own Krishna consciousness before you try to. So he left his Krishna consciousness in order to help a deer. Now he is not leaving his Krishna consciousness in order to help a king. You see, so what is he doing? Now here's a very nice technique for preaching. The king, he started to interact with Bharat by being sarcastic. But he mentioned a few points. One of those points was, oh, I can see you're not very stout. Even though Bharat Maharaj was very stout, very strong. I see you are suffering from old age. You've labored very hard, very long. You must be tired. He was not. So Bharat Maharaj picked that up. Because he was Krishna conscious, he refused to see things from the material point of view. The king was correct insofar as the body goes. But that is not the reality. The reality is we're not the body. Bharat Maharaj was fully conscious of this. Srila Prabhupada says that in the very first line of the purport. In Bhagavad Gita it is stated that one who is advanced in spiritual knowledge is not disturbed by the pains and pleasures of the material body. So he, Bharat, who was spiritually advanced, he was not taking the criticism as directed to the body. So he's preaching. So he's telling the king how he understood him. But in giving his response, he is giving a very wonderful way. The king saw the situation in one way, the material way. I'm the king, you're supposed to be my servant, and you're not doing a very good job. But because Bharat Maharaj was fully realized, he maintained his Krishna consciousness. First of all, he was not affected. Because when somebody criticizes you and you're not Krishna conscious, you become affected. It's like an insult. And you become insulted. And when you're insulted, there is a feeling of you want to get justice. If the criticism was unfair, then you feel even more hurt. Bharat Maharaj, he was not affected. Already the dacoits tried to kill him. And he wasn't thinking, I'm strong and I can handle them. Before I go down, I'll take 2 of them with me. Something like, he didn't think like that. Of course, we can't pretend, we can't imitate, because though you can try to imitate, but if you don't have his consciousness, the whole thing will be unrewarding. You will not have the same benefit. Anyway, here we're coming to the preachers, the devotee who is a preacher. He's maintaining his own Krishna consciousness. And then he's trying to use what the other person has said to give him a higher understanding. So he explains that actually, first of all, it's a very nice technique for preaching is you don't contradict the person who says something. See, he says, actually you're right. Tvaya uditam, whatever you have said, uditam, vyaktam, is very clear. And there is no contradiction. You know, it reminds you of the verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati, that Dante Nidhaya Trinakam, that taking a straw in my teeth, I fall at your feet and say, "O Sadhu, O great personality, please forget everything you have learned." First he addresses him as Sadhu. You're a very noble, very high elevated person. And then he asks him to forget everything he has learned. So Bharat Maharaj, he says the same thing. He says, "Oh, you're very correct." The king was sarcastic. So now the interesting thing is, the king could understand what Bharat Maharaj was doing. We will learn that in the later verses. He is not slow also. He is not Jad also. He understands that this person who I took for a fool is actually speaking profound wisdom. And immediately, see, this is interesting thing about preaching. You don't think, I will go and carry somebody's palanquin to preach to them. You don't, it's not what you set out to do. But the devotee, he takes the opportunity wherever the opportunity comes. He takes it. There is no ideal perfect place. Any place where the other person interacts with you, gives you the chance, the devotee, he takes it. And this is what Bharat Maharaj is doing. But remember again, he does not compromise his own Krishna consciousness. Because you can't, we have to remember the incident of the calf deer. You cannot make preaching something mundane, something sentimental, something bodily. You cannot help another's body and hope to deliver him or yourself. You will become compromised because there is no material help. All help is spiritual. So in order to help somebody spiritually, you have to maintain your own Krishna consciousness. It has to be intact. There should be no compromise. Then, with that platform, out of a sense of compassion, one can share, one can try to rectify the misunderstanding of the other person. Now, he didn't do this with the dacoits, because the dacoits were not exactly giving him a chance. The king, whilst being sarcastic, he was inviting a response. So you're an old man, you're tired, you have suffered greatly. So it's sarcastic, but it gives you a chance to speak. Bharat Maharaj took the chance. And he's speaking. And the other interesting thing is that you don't waste time. Same thing happens in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna says, I surrender to you. Immediately Krishna does not waste time. And immediately Krishna addresses all the points that Arjuna had made. His whole point, the essence of his whole point, is that he's grief-stricken at the prospect of killing his near and dear ones. And Krishna immediately says, the learned person does not lament. Even Arjuna had to admit, that's true. You don't see learned people weeping and crying over foolish things. It's a fact. Krishna pointed it out. And Krishna then went on from there. Same thing happening here. Bharat Maharaj, he is explaining that actually whatever the pains and pleasures of the body, they are not of the soul. Because we identify with the pains and pleasures of the body, we feel pain. Bharat Maharaj was not identifying. So now the king is listening. What an interesting palanquin bearer who tells you that I am not feeling the pain and pleasure of my body. Actually, King Rahugana is so good. He immediately realizes this is a highly elevated spiritual person. So the discussion changes now. The mood changes. In one sense, here the disciple did not surrender to the spiritual master. In the case of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna surrenders. But here's when a devotee is proactive. In other words, when you go out preaching, you can't expect everyone to say, "My dear Prabhu, I surrender to you. Please instruct me, guide me." How many people have had that happen to them? Once. Usually not. It may happen. It may, but it's very rare. So this is a good example for us, because King Rahugana did not surrender. But the preacher, the devotee, Bharat Maharaj, he turned it around. You have to convince the person so that he does surrender. He does say, "Please speak more. Please tell me more." So these are some of the techniques. Sometimes, we have seminars for book distributors and preaching. This is a seminar by Shukadev Goswami. He is teaching us how to preach. But it's a very good seminar because there is this pitfall of having a false ego that I am a preacher. And Bharat Maharaj is avoiding that pitfall. This element is not there. So it's a very good lesson. It shows that why sadhana of the preacher is also important, not just going out. Because he needs to maintain his own Krishna consciousness, very elevated. I'm sure I had a few more points. I just want to see if I haven't missed. Actually, there's a number of points, even more. There was an interesting word, just the previous verse. It said, Bhagavad Priya Niketam. Bhagavad Priya Niketam. Bharat Maharaj was not only not dull, he was actually, his body was the abode of the Supreme Lord. Bhagavad Priya Niketam. The Lord had decided to reside in his body. Abode. If you read the word for word to Bhagavad Priya Niketam, previous verse, it says that he's the abode of the Lord. So Bharat Maharaj, King Rahugana was very fortunate to meet Bharat Maharaj. He met the person who was carrying the Lord in his heart. So this very elevated level of consciousness is what the preacher actually imparts to others. You can't really, we know we use the word postman, a preacher is a postman. But you see, this postman has to be realized himself. The package kind of disappears if you're a hypocrite, for example. If you're a hypocrite, there is nothing to deliver. There's no post to deliver. There's nothing in the hand. It disappears. It's impotent. In fact, Sanatana Goswami says that post touched by the lips of a serpent will not help the other person. It will be poisonous. Very important. The practice of Krishna consciousness and the giving of Krishna consciousness go hand in hand. You cannot turn preaching into a mundane activity. You cannot outsource it to anybody. The person who does it has to be a devotee of Krishna. Then there is potency. Then the person gets the post, the letter, the package. I'll end here. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes. There's a mic. Can somebody just unwrap the mic and